Hi class, my name is Obyda. Today I'm going to talk about the history and the evolution of soccer balls. How many of you have played soccer before? Yeah, most of you. But have any of you sat down and thought for a second, I wonder how this ball came to be, no one's as weird as me and things like that. I got it, I'm just weird like that. But so back in the Middle Ages, according to soccerfansinfo.com, the reason why England considers soccer to be their sport, if you ever heard a British person say it's our sport, it's our game, is because back in the Middle Ages, when a man was executed, they kicked the guy's head around in the mob. That's how soccer started. And I was just like, that's pretty cool. But eventually, they realized they couldn't kick a guy's head anymore, so they started cleaning out animal bladders, namely pigs, and they would wash it out and stuff it up with just materials. However, that proved to be kind of a problem because when you kick it's like a beach ball. When you kick a beach ball, it floats in the air, and it's well, that's kind of lame. So they decided to switch to leather, and for the first time, leather was able to be. It was stronger. They were able to keep it on the ground, but it proved to have some problems of its own. As you can see, this is a leather soccer ball. It looks like a basketball shape. In fact, the first ever basketball first game basketball was using the soccer ball. That's why it's got the pattern that it has today. On the top of the ball, you see these laces, and many players were known to have brain damage afterwards because the laces would damage their head. But the leather ball also had problems, like I was saying. First, air kept leaving the ball because of the holes and spaces and the gaps in the top of the ball. So they needed to inflate the ball often. So that was the main problem. Another problem was leather. If you know, when leather gets wet, it gets heavier. So the ball got heavier, and that proved to be a problem. In 1839, Goodyear, as you know, vulcanized rubber, and that's when he made his first tire. And in 1855, that technology was transferred over to the soccer world. And the first ever soccer ball was made with vulcanized rubber. And that's the balls you think of today, the material they're made out of, that's the vulcanized rubber. And in 1863, according to FA.com, which is the Federation Association for English Football, that was the first time that they sat down and said, okay, we need to make a standard for soccer balls because people would play different sizes and do different things with the ball. For example, in 1830, the first ever World Cup in Uruguay, it was played versus Argentina versus Uruguay. In the first half, Argentina played with their size ball, and they were up 2-1. In the second half, ironically, Uruguay ended up winning 4-2 because they played with their ball. So in 1863, the FA was like, we need to sit down and make a standard ball. So they decided that the ball would be spherical and a circumference of 27 to 28 inches. Also around this time, balls started coming out in different colors. So originally you see the leather ball, but then they started coming out with different colors because when it flooded, they chose to use a white ball. But when it snowed, they chose to use an orange ball so they could see the ball. According to factcodedesign.com, architect Richard Buckminster Fuller was the first to come out with a 32-panel ball, which kind of looks like a standard ball, but not so beat up. As you can see, you have the 32 different panels, and the reason he did that is because it made the ball more spherical. It made the ball closer to a circle as possible. I'm actually going to let you guys, if you want to feel the material of it compared to a regular ball. It's not the most expensive ball, but some balls range up to $150, and that's because of the materials they're made out of versus the other balls. In 1970, Adidas was the official World Cup ball sponsor. They made the ball for the first time, and they made the ball called the Adidas Telstar ball, which was the first ball in the World Cup to use the 32 panels. Because as you can see before, from 1930 up until 1966, all the balls had that basketball or volleyball shaped pattern, and it wasn't until 1970 that you see the traditional soccer ball that we think of. However, in 2010, Adidas decided to be a little creative. In South Africa, they came out with a ball known as the Jabulani. Instead of 32 panels, it had 8 panels. So what's the big deal? So with 8 panels, the aerodynamics of the ball completely changed. The ball was no longer floating in the air the way the players were used to. The ball was completely swerving, and according to NASA, the ball used to knuckle, which means it would spin. The rate it would spin and flow in the air was 30 miles an hour. but the Javelani ball was actually 45 to 50 miles an hour because of the less panels on it. So that caused a lot of controversy. One of the famous soccer players, Robinho, who plays on the Brazilian national team, said, "It was deemed unpredictable in the air, and a shame for such a horrific ball to be used on a world stage." So the ball was heavily criticized, and in 2014, Brazil, you had the you had the Brazuca. The Brazuca was back to the traditional 32 panel ball, and there was no problems with that ball. But just to be safe, Adidas actually came out with the ball 2 months before the World Cup in Brazil, so that people could practice with it and not complain about it. So, conclusively, I went through the history and the evolution of the soccer ball, from where soccer started and what the ball used to be from someone's head, to now the technology that's come into a ball, and the circumferences and all the details that come into a ball.